Hello to my community members. I wasn't sure if I was going to do a video today. It's hard when tempers and feelings and beliefs and everything are just smashing together in this fire that is building, and you wonder if you're just going to add to the flames or you might help put it out a little bit. But I do want to say that I've appreciated all your guys' supports and your kind words and views to what I've had to say. It's very encouraging. It gives me hope and faith for the future and the fact that we can all come together, I hope. And I really do hope we can break down those barriers and take off the blinders that have been put on us by the media, TV, movies, video games, influencers, however you want to put it. There's a lot of cases, and we've been attacked from all ways. It's amazing that we've gotten to the point that we have. But the point we're at right now is not a good one. I hope people can see that our views aren't that far off. We're not that far away from each other. There's a few core views that are keeping us from coming together, I think. And I hope everybody sees how important it is that we do come together and put away those differences to work on at a later date and come together for a greater purpose. And I hope you identify and see what's being done to all of us out there. It doesn't matter what side you're on, left, right, middle. All of us are good people. We all have passion and beliefs in how we believe life should be. But I believe at the core, we want the same things. I do believe that if we didn't listen to all of the noise out there, and that's what it is noise, that's directing us towards each other and dividing us, we could actually make a difference. Just think about it. How long has this been going on? How long has this division, this right, left, against each other, even the fact that it is just right and left and there is no middle because we hardly hear about it and they don't even show up at the debates or get any kind of advertisements. We should be throwing our hands up and causing a fit about that. We should be enraged at the fact that we don't get to pick from the best choices that we have. And I think that's key to this election today. The best choices aren't what we're seeing. It's not saying that I'm not for one or the other. I'm just saying, is it truly our best choice out there? Because if it is, I'm worried. What I will say is this: I think we have a common goal, a common enemy, a common entity that we all want to push against and change. And that is the same entity that is dividing us, driving those wedges in. You can look at articles 60 years ago or 50 years ago that'll line out for you word for word what's been done and is being done to us right now. They've caused a racial war, a gender war, a good versus evil war, a guns versus no guns war. And the reality is, if you look into the facts, most of it isn't true. But one constant that I see, that I hope you all will see, is that the person and people pulling the strings are the same enemy on both sides. I know I'm not personally trying to pull the strings and cause division between the people that are opposing me or don't agree with me 100%. I want to accept them and figure out how we can do it together. And you have to ask yourself, has it worked this far? This long, has it worked, or has it only gotten worse? Is it only going to get worse? Can you handle it if it gets even worse? I can't. That's why I'm willing to put down some of my beliefs, or some of my opinions, I should say, to accept and listen to my brothers and sisters on the other side. Because the reality is we do have the same enemy here, and it is the enemy that is dividing us. And let's be clear about it. The reason they're doing about it, because the one and only thing they are truly afraid of is you and I and us coming together and realizing that we are our own answer. We're the ones that if we come together, they will be scared to death. If we come together and say, we do not comply because we do not agree, we're tired. We will not comply anymore with anything because you aren't for the people. You aren't coming together for us. You're not looking out for our best interests, and you haven't for a long time. And they knew this was coming. Why do you think? Do you think this was just luck? Or was it perfect timing that they drove that wedge right in there deep and restarted a race war that was fading away? And sure, there were still incidences of really bad things and things that need a lot of work. There were unjust things happening still and things that needed atonement. But they have to be reasonable. We have to be able to accept each other and what's happened in the past and forgive each other in order to move ahead. And they know that if we do that and we start coming together as a whole, they're in big trouble. They don't have what it takes to overcome. And that's why they're using the same things they always have. Let's start a WAR. Let's have a catastrophe or a storm or some sort of incident that takes out food, water, power, makes a shortage of jobs, sustenance, money. Let's get them so far in debt and make it seem like such a good decision, like arm loans and things like that, that just seem too good to be true. It's because they are. These are the tools that they've been using for a long time, and they're going to do another one, mark my words. When they're done dividing us and getting us to do the work for them, which is what they're doing. We are doing the work for them right now. We're doing the heavy lifting. We, and I say we on both sides, are being useful idiots. And if we keep doing that, that's when they'll come and make us even more and more desperate and bring on despair. And when we're at our lowest, they will come to us with their plan, whatever that may be. NWO, some may say. A reset, some may say. A guaranteed income. A one world religion. And they'll make it seem so good. And the grass will seem so green on the other side. And we'll be so hungry, so cold, so tired, and so broke that we'll go for it. And what we won't really think of at that moment, because we're so desperate, is that we are giving up the last chance we have at keeping our freedom and our liberties, our individualism. You guys can see it everywhere. They're already starting with getting rid of change and talking about here and there about the reset of the monetary system and how in debt we are. And you don't have to be smart to see that you can't have a national debt of tens of trillions and then yet sign bills for tens of trillions more and think that anything's going to get better because of it. Changing the way they figure interest on how they borrow money from each other. That's not going to help us in the end. But they'll come to us and they'll say, hey, look, we're going to supply a place for you to live. You don't have to worry about it. And we're going to pay you even if you don't have a job. And if you have a job, better yet, you're still going to get paid and we're going to have it, and you're going to have a job. And if you want a job or are looking for one, we'll help you find it. Guaranteed. And if you don't, well, we'll guarantee that we'll give you enough to cover your bills. And as far as healthcare, don't worry about that. We're going to take care of that too. We're going to give you free healthcare. You're going to have the best of the best. And they're also going to come along and say, we're going to protect you too. You no longer need to worry about police. We'll take care of all of that. And they're going to offer you something that seems so good that you're really going to think about it. And then they're going to hit you with the, oh, what about all the debts you owe? Well, that's okay. We're going to forgive all of those too. But in order to get all of this, you have to agree that you're going to give up all of your assets for the debts we've waived because you won't need them. You're going to have to move into a higher density way of living because you need to keep it simple. And we are paying for everything. So you're going to need to accept our healthcare program. And you're going to need to give up all your guns because you won't need them. We'll be taking care of all of that. And you're going to need to agree to this electronic or digital dollar, which is going to be even more make-believe than the one that currently is here. And you're going to give up all of those things. And in doing so, you're actually giving up your freedoms, your individuality, your motivation, your aspirations, your dreams. Because in the world that they're designing, there's no room for that. There's room for doing what we need you to do. And no, you won't be able to speak up because you have to give up your right to speak out or assemble or hold a protest. Because they're going to rewrite your rights and the Constitution if you want to be bailed out. See, they bail each other out without a second thought. But with us, we're going to have to give up the last thing that makes us and gives us the ability to stay free. And everybody needs to think about that. If you truly want to make changes, this is not meaning we have to stand up and start a revolution or anything like that. But we do all have to stand up and demand change. And that's on both sides. We don't all have to love guns. We don't all have to recycle. We don't all have to, drive a big car or a small car, or live in a big house or a small house. Those are insignificant things for the problems we have at hand right now. What we need to do is stand together and weed out the corruption that has grown in the place that we trusted to do what was best for the entire country. And so that's why I say today, whichever way you choose, make a choice. Make sure you go and make that selection. And don't feed into the things that they have set up to cause the depravity, the desperation, and the violence that they're looking for. And I have just a few things to show you just to think about. These are all sources, so you can look them up and find them for yourself, but to give you something to think about. We have two choices, and they aren't the best by any means. But we need better than somebody who calls his granddaughter his passed away son's name. And please don't take that with any disrespect. I think that the disease that he has is heartbreaking. I lost my grandpa to something similar to that, to ALS. His mind was as sharp as a tack, but he couldn't tell you that. And he couldn't take care of himself. It's just as bad as your body still being there, but you have no idea who or what or where you are. And we need better than that. We also need better than people who don't have character, who don't have a way of life where they raise children that make better decisions. And I'm not knocking that either. I've had my dealings with that. And I have a huge amount of compassion for people struggling with these issues. But what I don't see is him getting help. I see hiding him, wanting to sweep it under the rug. How common has that become in our United States, to sweep things under the rug? I've met so many people who want to do that, thinking that if you just buy a new car or send them on a trip, everything will just be okay. But it won't. His son needs him right now. He doesn't need him being president. He needs him to help and be there for him. Not as an enabler, but to get him help. And by some of the things that have been released, the depravity goes even deeper. And it may even involve it. And that may be why he is where he is. And we need to think about that. It is not irrelevant, and nobody wants to talk about it. And how about this? Do we think we have a system that is unbiased? So, what if our current leader does succeed and comes out triumphant? Whether he's the best choice or not, they're not going to broadcast his victory speech. They're not going to acknowledge the fact that he did win. I mean, think about that for a minute. Everywhere you see, if you go out and actually look with your eyes, there are supporters lined down streets, around buildings. Heck, in my town, the train went all the way around of flags through our town. You couldn't hardly go anywhere because there were so many supporters. And yet, I see nothing from the other side. And they still say he's ahead. And then there's all of the issues with the selection papers being lost, stolen, doubles, not getting where they need to, being lit on fire in some cases. I mean, we've got serious problems here. And it should be us. Every single vote should count. We should all be able to trust that our selection has been made and registered. And for those of you who have done it not in person, and even if you have, get online, make sure it got counted, make sure it's correct, because they're gonna challenge it. You can just see it. They've said so. So we need to be proactive on both sides. I want it to be fair and equal and get the best choice we can for now. And hopefully in the future, we can change it to where we have more choices, better choices. This group, Sunrise, they were having Zoom calls where they're talking about taking over federal buildings and running the opposition out of the house, out of town, out of everywhere. They want to, by these words, disrupt, destabilize the outcome of today, including plans to shut down the White House. How can this happen in our country? Imagine what our other allies are thinking to themselves. This is another one. Organized to protect the result of 2020 election. These people are trying to make it seem like they're trying to protect the integrity, but you don't protect integrity by the day of the election going to the homes of the people you may not agree with and using fear and terror tactics to keep them inside. Like it says here, homes of Trump campaign officials who have been plotting systematically to disfranchise and intimidate millions of voters. That's not true. But they're going to be there to keep you trapped. And even after. Oh, and back to the first one, they're planning on even doing this in front of the polls. And we have even seen that. We have seen where some of these three-letter groups have gone out there and actually disrupted, using either loudspeakers or physically blocking people from doing what is their right to do and they should be arrested for and aren't. And then the day after, no matter who they say wins, if it just happens to be the guy they don't agree with, they're going to use cars, bicycles, and everything to circle the White House. They're going to put up blockades at all the entrances. They're going to do sit-ins in the entrances, dance parties. They're going to actually block down blocks around the White House. That's a huge security risk. If you did that as a conservative, you would be in prison. And I want to point out that these kind of things that I'm talking about and sharing right now are not coming from conservative sources. You don't see any conservatives out there going, if it's the other way around, we're going to just cause mayhem and violence and destruction and riot and tear down cities. You would never see that. You may see marches or protests But you won't see them like you've been seeing for how many days is it now in Portland? 100 at least. November 6th, another day even after. If things aren't going their way and the person they think shouldn't be in there isn't out, they plan on shutting down the entire area of DC. The entire area. Until they get their way. And that has to go with the same sort of things, sitting in front of donors' homes, government buildings, taking over everything, blocking down bridges, it says, blocking down highways, freeways, public transit. Most places would consider this terrorism or major civil unrest to almost a overthrowing type of situation. And here's another one. I don't know if you guys are aware of it, but look at all of this.